You were told you were free. You made choices. You built a life. But somewhere, beneath all the movement, something never felt real. A faint echo under every decision, every direction. The feeling that none of this was truly yours. You brushed it aside. Everyone did. Responsibility, career, success, relationships. These were the markers of a life well lived. This was what freedom looked like, wasn't it? But late at night, or in the quiet spaces no one else could hear, the question would return, if this is freedom, why does it feel so hollow? Have you ever built a life so carefully, only to wonder if it was ever really yours? You made the right choices. You followed the map they handed you. Study, achieve, obey. Build a life that looks good from the outside. You checked the boxes without even realizing you were holding a checklist. You chose your school, your career, your friendships. But each choice was already shaped by 1,000 invisible expectations, 1,000 silent warnings about what would make you loved and what would make you alone. You told yourself you were choosing it. But what you were really choosing was survival. Because early on, you learned the unspoken rules. Approval wasn't given for authenticity. Love wasn't offered for being yourself. It was given if you fit. If you stayed manageable. If you became what they needed you to be. You learned that belonging had a cost, and the cost was you. At first it was small, a silence here, a swallowed truth there. You barely noticed yourself fading. But over time, it grew, until adaptation no longer felt like adaptation. It felt like identity. Until the survival mask fused so tightly to your skin, you forgot it was ever a mask at all. And forgetting is more dangerous than fear. Fear keeps you alert. Forgetting makes you believe the cage was always home. Jung warned that the greatest tragedies are not born from violence. They are born from forgetting. You do not notice when survival becomes identity. You do not notice because forgetting was the price of belonging. The child who stayed quiet to avoid rejection becomes the adult who cannot speak their truth. The one who adapted to be loved becomes the one who no longer knows what they love. You survived by becoming what the world needed you to be. But the tragedy is this: you survived at the cost of yourself. The survival self, that perfect, palatable version of you, was never meant to be permanent. It was supposed to be a temporary shelter. But the longer you lived inside it, the more it calcified into a prison. You did not choose your life. You adapted to it. You became what the world demanded, because the cost of being yourself was too high to bear. And in doing so, you forgot there was ever a choice at all. When did you first feel the quiet weight of a life chosen for you, not by you? When did you first notice the silence inside you? Was it when you achieved everything you thought you wanted and still felt empty? Was it when you realized your victories didn't bring peace, only exhaustion? Or was it much earlier than that, when you learned, without ever being told, that to be loved, you had to disappear? No one had to raise their voice. No one had to lock you away. It was quieter than that. Approval when you betrayed yourself. Distance when you spoke your truth. It wasn't overt punishment. It was absence, withdrawal, a glance that turned cold, a conversation that ended too quickly, a warmth that vanished when you needed it most. And so you learned, not through rules, but through survival. Not through punishments, but through absence. You learned what to hide. You learned what to amputate. You shaped yourself into something safer, quieter, smaller, easier to love, and the world called you successful for it. The world called you mature, stable, wise beyond your years. But it was never wisdom, it was survival, and survival is a form of forgetting. You forgot the shape of your own voice. You forgot the sound of your own anger. You forgot what it felt like to want something simply because you wanted it. Because when you live for safety, desire becomes dangerous. Truth becomes dangerous. Authenticity becomes dangerous. And so you buried it, piece by piece, memory by memory, until what was left was not freedom, but performance. You don't lose yourself all at once. You lose yourself in the moments you call choices. Nietzsche warned that most people would never awaken, that they would live and die inside the structures they were handed, believing all along that they had chosen them freely. Freedom, he said, was not the absence of chains. It was the ability to see the chains clearly, and to still choose the soul over survival. But most will never see, because seeing is a kind of death. A death of the dream, a death of the comfortable lie. If you knew how much of your life was shaped before you ever spoke your first word, would you still call it your own? Maybe the life you built was never yours. Maybe it was the price of survival. Maybe the hollow feeling you carry isn't a failure. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe the self you buried is not waiting. Maybe it's gone. And maybe the only freedom left is mourning what you had to become to survive.